everybody, welcome back. So in today's video,
what killed your feelings for someone you were once madly in love with? I'll go first. They are the reason I asked God to take my baby back. Part of why I loved that person was because they gave me a sense of security. The first time we ever had a pregnancy scare, I said no, I wouldn't keep it. We're not in a real committed relationship. We're not married, and I don't want to be abandoned, so no, I wouldn't keep it. And they assured me that if something like that ever happened, they'd want the baby, they would be my partner in figuring it out. And then one day, I was late, and then I was very, very late, and then I was sick, nauseous, and then it was time to have a conversation. And when I tried to have that conversation, they wouldn't even look at me. They grew so quiet and just waited for me to leave. They didn't say anything. And then ignored every phone call and text message I sent them for 2 weeks. So I prayed every single day that the ancestors would do what I didn't have the strength to do. And on the 5th day, blood.
this guy convinced her that he was going to be there. And then when she got pregnant, he disappeared. He was like, I'm out. Like, what kind of demonic behavior is that? Why do you take pleasure in hurting somebody? Nobody put a gun to your head. But you told her, you assured her that you were going to be there. Only for you to what? Disappear. This is so painful and so sad. A lot of people staged her video with their responses, and some of these responses is like, okay, all right, so let's get into the video.
What killed your feelings for someone you were once madly in love with? I'll go first.
I have to chime in on this in case it can help any young woman out there, okay? I'm old. I've been married 3 times and I have no intention of getting married again. John's my life. So after saying that, first husband, I'm pregnant with twins. Mind you, I've already given him a son, right? And I look over at him and I go, you haven't touched me in a while. What's going on? I can't touch you. Look at you. You're fat. You got cellulite everywhere. Ew, you're so ugly and gross. I want nothing to do with you. Pregnant with his twins, okay? I knew right then the marriage was over. I ended up having another kid with him before I kicked him out. But the second husband came out to me as gay. Now, as a heterosexual woman, marrying a heterosexual man, no indication whatsoever. This was quite a shock to me. I did not handle it well, I'm sorry, and I still apologize for it. But basically I said, you need to go, you need to get out, because there's no sex life, there's no anything going on. Like, I married the wrong guy, it was a mistake, go find out who you are, okay? Please, with my blessing, I'll walk in pride parades with you if I need to. But he didn't, he stayed, and he cheated on me to check to make sure that he was actually gay. So really what he wanted was him to have the ability to go out and try all these new things, because he had just come out, but wouldn't listen to me when I said, leave the marriage then. That's wrong. Leave the marriage. Go find out. I don't know what it's like to be in the wrong body. I mean, God, yeah, please, it's Canada. You're free to do so. And like I said, I will walk with you in pride parades and be proud of you that, you're living your best life. But leave before you cheat. And he didn't. And I found out he was with married men. And now these women are looking at me like it's my fault. He looks at me like, well, if you had just done all the things. I'm not a man. I got massive, huge titties, big ass, like nothing about me is male. So, I can't be what you want me to be. So I've already lost the war that I didn't even know I was going to be in. Hope this helps everybody.
So I was with this person for 15 years. We moved in together. We was there for 1.5 years. I then got an eviction notice. So all the money I was giving him per month, he was spending it on himself, when he was supposed to be going to work every day like I was. He wasn't going to work, he was going to his mum and dad's and sleeping all day and spending all the money that I give him to pay wages. He spent it on himself. We got an eviction notice, we had to get out. That didn't kill my feelings for him. My mum went to bed. She didn't wake up the next morning. She passed away, unfortunately. On her funeral, he went and played football instead of being there for me. That didn't kill my feelings for him. 2 years after that, my brother went to bed. He didn't wake up. He passed away. And he dumped me. That didn't kill my feelings for him. I fell pregnant with our daughter. I went into labour. He went out and got pissed while I was in labour. He came back at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was pretty much nearly pushing it at this point, while he was throwing up in the toilet. I gave birth to his daughter, while he threw up in the toilet through the whole birth. That didn't kill my feelings for him. I pretty much brought her up on my own while working full time. He slept all day. That didn't kill my feelings for him. When my daughter was 8 months old, he was the worst dad ever. Never spent any time with her, would never have her for me. I would have to drop my daughter off either at nursery or at my dad's, because sometimes I would work until 11 o'clock at night. I would work, I would then pick her up from my dad's, while he was at home sleeping. That didn't kill my feelings for him. We then had our second child. I had pneumonia and sepsis while I was pregnant with him. Rushed into hospital, was in intensive care. I nearly lost him. They brought him out early. I then had a little baby, and I was very ill in hospital. My daughter needed looking after and taken to school. He wouldn't do it. My dad had to take my daughter to school. That didn't kill my feelings for him. I had to sneak my daughter into the hospital because my dad was too ill to look after her. I had nobody else to look after her. I snuck her into the hospital. Social services found out. So while I was looking after my daughter in the hospital in my own room, I was also looking after a baby as well. And I had machines and everything attached to me because I was ill. But I had my own room because it was neonatal. So after they said they was going to put her in care until I came out of hospital with my son, because he wouldn't look after her, that killed my feelings for him. He was far more important than to look after his kids. He would rather put them in care than look after them. There is nothing bigger and there's nothing more that turns a woman off than a guy not wanting to be there for his kids. That killed my feelings. And we are the happiest we've ever been.
What killed your feelings for someone you were once madly in love with?
So when I was 20 years old, I started dating this guy and we got super close so fast. I was in love with this man. He could do no wrong. To this day, I still think he was the best person I've ever dated. I was so in love with him. I thought I was gonna marry him. The only red flag about him was that he hated vegetables, which to me, like, if you don't like vegetables, grow up, but whatever. I was willing to let it slide for him. He would always come over to my parents' house for dinner. He would hang out with me and my brother. We were so close. But he never let me meet his family, which I thought was super weird. And, you know, things moved really quickly. Like 5 months into our relationship, we're talking about like, we want to marry each other. So I genuinely believed that this man was going to be my husband. And I was like, okay, well, if you want me to be your husband, you're going to have to introduce me to your family. I think it's super weird that I haven't met them yet because you hang out with my family all the time. And finally, he agrees to let me meet his parents. And we go over for dinner. His family's so nice. I'm like, why were you hiding them from me? Your family's great. And his mom for dinner made us like some salmon and rice and broccoli. And he like threw a huge fit. He's like, Mom, you know I hate broccoli. I can't eat this. And refused to eat the broccoli. I was like, okay, like whatever. I know he hates vegetables. I wouldn't have put it on his plate. His mom should have known better, okay? Until we were all done with our food. He only had 9 pieces of broccoli left on his plate. And his mom comes over and is like, you have to eat your vegetables. So she takes the broccoli one by one on the fork and goes, here comes a choo-choo train, chugga chugga choo-choo, and puts it in his mouth every single time. One time she said, here comes the airplane, and he ate it. This man was 23 years old, by the way. And at the end, he said, thank you, Mommy. And then he was driving me home and said, that's the only way I'll eat vegetables. if we're gonna get married. And then I never talked to him again.
What killed your feelings for someone you were once madly in love with?
Renovating a house with my fiance. I remember the specific moment that I realized it was over. The entire renovation, I had to take the lead on everything. I just wanted to pick like the tiles and the colors, but no. I had to find the contract. I had to schedule everything. Even the things that I assigned to him, I'd have to nag him. Have you called him? Have you scheduled that? It was exhausting. He had no get up and go. No ability to manage his own time. He needed me to mother him. Do this, do that. But the real moment was when we needed a sign off to knock down a wall. And he was assigned that. I got the contractor to knock down the wall, but he needed to get the sign off from the structural engineer saying that it was not a load-bearing wall. So I kept nagging him. Did you do that? No. 2 days later. Did you do that? No. 2 days later. Did you do that? Yeah, I got the sign off. Great. I scheduled the contractor to take down the wall. It wasn't load-bearing. The contractor took down the wall. He calls me. The roof is caving in. How was that possible? My fiance lied. He lied about having the sign off. There was no meeting with any structural engineer. He just didn't want to do it, so he lied. It was at that moment that I realized this is not a man. This is a child. I do not want this to be the rest of my life. Peace out.
Okay, so I was dating this guy back in varsity. We actually dated for like 4 years, like 4.5 years, somewhere there. So basically my whole varsity life. He covered a lot of my firsts, like when it comes to relationships, you know. And so the issue with him, or like one of the issues with him, is that he never wanted to do anything for himself, like cooking, dishes, cleaning, and like stuff like that. And his excuse was that growing up, he's never had to do any of that. Like as he was a kid, he never had to do any chores, right? So he claimed that he didn't know how to cook or how to do laundry and clean and things like that. So okay, fine. So this one time, since he was like a bit older than me, he graduated first. So he had moved out of Reyes and like he had a place and was living with one of his friends. So we're there, like he was having a lot like get together. So we're all there with his friends, and one of my friends was dating one of his friends, so she was also there. So it was like two of us as girls. So we're there, we're chilling, you know, like it's just a normal night. I don't know how like the conversation started, but we started talking about this whole thing basically, right, of like him being unable to do stuff for him. And I was bringing up the point, dude, like at some point you need to know how to do things for yourself. And I was like, no, like my mom's got me, like my mom will do things for him. And I was like, your mom's not gonna live forever, like dude, come on, like you need to learn how to do things for yourself. And now you're living out here, like having your own place and stuff. Like, is your mom gonna leave her house and come to your apartment and clean it for you? Like, are you serious? Like, are you crazy? And then, guys, he had the guts to say to me that, because I was telling him like, I can't keep doing things for you. You need to meet me halfway. Do you know what I mean? He literally looked straight into my eyes and told me that there's nothing that I can do for him that his mom can't do for him. Basically, like, I'm not changing his life. Like, whatever that I feel like I'm doing for him, like, it's nothing that his mom can't do. Like, so I'm basically not changing his life. We're there, like, in the room, like, none of his friends are saying anything. Everyone is just, like, quiet. No one's coming to my defense. My friend gets offended by this, right? And she's like, what do you mean? Like, what's that supposed to mean? I was like, yeah, it's not my fault that, like, your parents taught you how to do things, like, growing up, and Mina, they didn't. My mom chose to do everything for me, so you guys know how to do like all these chores because, you know, your parents made you do them. And it was like, that's not where the story ends, but I'm out of time. So
what killed your feelings for someone you were once madly in love with?
So I have a history of situationships, and I used to chase unavailable men, constantly going after, you know, men who didn't want relationships. And it was a pattern. It was an avoidant, a pattern of mine. It was actually safer to chase these men than let anybody reel in. But I was in a situationship with a man for over 2 years, and we had great chemistry. We got along amazingly. I had so much fun with him. He was successful. He was over 40. I just sort of thought that he would come around. But I never really heard him. I mean, right when we started talking, he told me he didn't want a relationship, he didn't want something serious, and I just let my feelings and my emotions sort of keep me there as an option for him. And again, I thought he would just come around and change his mind. So after like 2 years of us being in this situationship, he had like a tough night out or something happened, and I remember I ran to his side. You know, he needed help. I took care of him. I nurtured him. I did all these things for him always at the drop of a hat. But not too shortly after, I was going through a really hard time mentally, emotionally, and I'll never forget, he reached out to me and I was like, I'm not doing okay, you know, I need help, I need something, and I'll never forget what he said to me. He said, call me when you're better. And it was that moment that I realized I had let this man stay in my life for 2 years, thinking that he could just come in, have fun, whatever, leave, and he was not truly ever going to be there for me. And it was at that moment that I decided that I was going to change the way that I showed up, that I deserved to have someone take care of me when I needed it, and that I was showing up in a way that was not honoring what I truly wanted when it came to dating. So I broke it off with him, and I showed up different to the dating scene. I created my workbook, and literally it worked.
So I once had an ex who wouldn't stop cheating on me, and I remember going to my mom for advice about it, and her saying like, only you will know when you're sick and tired. And at that time I didn't really know what she meant by that, but she was like, I can't tell you what to do, nobody can tell you what to do, only you know when you're sick and tired. Well, one night I went out, got drunk, so the next day I come home. He had to work that morning, but I was off, and I was hungover, and I just was on the couch watching cartoons, just hanging out. And at this time he was trying to get himself together, so he wasn't texting anybody else but me. So he's texting me while he's at work, and he's like pissed because I'm not texting back fast enough because I'm hungover, like I'm just in and out of sleep, you know. And he's pissed that I wouldn't text him back fast enough or entertain him while he was at work. And I'll never forget, it pissed me off so bad that I was like, you know what, I'm done. I don't want this relationship. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. And I remember him being like, what do you mean? Like, after this small argument, how can you break up with me? Like, what's going on? So he comes home, and I was done. I left the relationship. Like, I was over it. And what it was I had really, it was like the stick that broke the camel's back, right? The straw that broke the camel's back. And at that moment, I realized I couldn't do it anymore. I had no more fighting me. I had no more arguing in me. I had no more crying in me. And I left, and that was it. And that's when I learned, you know when you sick and tired. And at that moment, baby, I was sick and tired.
These stories are insane. They are insane. I mean, the woman with the gray hair. So he was gay, right? And the woman was like, I'll support you, I'll go on parade with you, I'll do everything. This guy wouldn't do it. He ended up cheating with other married men. Talk about embarrassment. And the other girl whose boyfriend's mom was feeding him vegetables. Like, moms, you need to do better. We are tired of this. You are enabling all this toxicity. Well, we are going through a lot already. And then you girls like allow your sons to just sit around, do nothing, to the point that you are feeding him. And the other one in the at university whose boyfriend wouldn't do the laundry or do the dishes because he's reliant on his mom. Like, this is just incest, like disgusting. Anyway, and the other one, like the renovation guy who didn't do what he was supposed to do, only for the building to like collapse. Like, are you mad? Are you insane? Are you a child? What's going on? Oh, and the one that killed it for me was the lady who kept forgiving and forgiving. You were paying rent for a man, a grown-ass man. Your mother died. He went to play football. He sleeps on your couch. Your brother dies. He abandons you. Your mother dies. He abandons you. He's a shitty father to your children. What were you waiting for? What were you waiting for? It's painful, it hurts, but sometimes you just have to let them go. The first mistake, that's it. You need to set those boundaries and accept them. Like, I'm not going to be paying bills for a grown-ass man to sleep on my couch. I don't care. Especially if he's not pulling his weight. Unless you're a millionaire and, you know, you're just into that. And that's fine, okay? If you have your F-boys in the house and you're just paying them for a good time, do your thing, okay? But You're having children with this man. I'm sure you're still doing the cooking and cleaning while he just sleeps on the couch. He doesn't take care of the kids. He leaves everything on you. He abandons you when you need him the most. And you still keep forgiving him. You're enabling his bad behavior. He thinks he can do anything he wants to do with you. That's sad.